Welcome to the SJ Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, and thanks for joining the SG Child Show today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation because it's already been going. It's one of those days where we should have hit record a half an hour ago. We didn't miss all the juicy bits. No, it's great to have you here today, Sharon. Thank you so much for your time and your willingness to come and share. Before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself and what brought you here today.
Okay, well, I'm Sharon Fillmore, and I am, sometimes people call me the Mary Poppins of family wellness. I work with families, particularly with working moms, to help bring vitality into their homes and harmony and peace, all those things that we all want as a mom. And sometimes when we're trying to juggle a million things, it's like, I can only handle so much. So I help with that. And the reason why I do it is because I love to watch people grow. I love to see how you change and you develop and your joy and your happiness come out and your ability to talk to the people around you and really, really understand. And I love to see that. How I started was actually as a registered nurse. I've been in healthcare for over 45 years, and I worked in a lot of high-risk areas, like ICU and Emerge, those sorts of places, as well as in the community. And then I became a teacher, and I taught healthcare. And I have 3 children, and they all have kind of different things. So one of the things that what I did was I started to learn more about children's health and wellness. And my former husband and I, we sat down one day and we were talking about our parenting. And I had taken a course on parenting. I was just starting a course on parenting. And we were talking and I said, we both come from these families that are pretty dysfunctional. And we know that if we don't change the way we learn how to parent, we're going to do the same thing our parents did. And we both didn't want that. So as a result, we started taking as many parenting courses as we could. And we kind of pulled it together and sort of created our own style of parenting. And well, I have 3 amazing children. They're all adults. They're all happy and they're all doing what they love. And I don't think that as a parent, you can ask for anything more.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I love that. And thank you for your service as a nurse. I think that, one of probably the only good things that came out of that thing we were talking about earlier is that people started recognizing how much work our nurses and doctors and, emergency services do for us as community members. So definitely thank you. And my mom's a nurse. So I have a kind of a gratitude and a thankfulness for that service that you provide for people without expectation for your whole career. So I think that that's an amazing thing. But, it's so interesting. The universe sends me these messages all sometimes back to back. So last night I did another podcast with a woman in Australia who the same kind of thing does, like an emotional coaching process for moms and helping moms, get out of that. And so right when you said that, I was like, ding, 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 here we are, we're ready for this conversation. This is like perfect mindset to be able to continue basically for me, the conversation today. And I think that when I've had the opportunity of being a mom for 20 years, 12 and 14 of those have been with my own children. And the prior 10 years to that was with my stepdaughter. And there was a lot of learning curve, parenting mistakes, understanding exactly what you just said, that we were coming from the place of our parents parenting. And unfortunately, some of the collateral damage had already been done. And we had to learn how to also admit that, apologize, shine a light on it, so it wasn't just swept under the rug. And it, not only to honor her journey, but to also help her see that we were changing and that we wanted to change. And, it came in years later, but I think that the fact that still you really learn a lot in those times when, especially when you are feeling maybe out of control, and how are we supposed to, be thriving as a mom when we can't do this, or when this is happening, and when this overwhelm starts to take over. And so, most of the time we feel so alone, like we're the only moms going through that. But you and I know, and so many other moms know, that that is just not the truth. And
Everyone is
going through it. It's the hardest thing, though, to reach out and ask for support in those moments, isn't it? So I love that.
We all have been raised to believe we're superwoman and we can do it all. And we can if we have help.
Yeah.
And it's about asking for help. I think the most important thing I learned as a parent was to delegate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that is so important. And I think that has some boundaries that come with it, as far as like roles that people play. Sometimes I have to remind my spouse that I am not his mom. And this, like, you have your role, I have mine, children have theirs. And sometimes as moms, I think we intermingle ourselves with all sorts of different roles that are unnecessary. And we don't know that we're putting more energy into that and out of ourselves that we can be putting towards other things. What kind of advice do you give to moms who find themselves in that wearing too many hats?
I think that no matter what, you're going to wear too many hats. It's looking at the hats and asking yourself, which ones do I want to wear? Because if a mom looks at any mother looks at their day, they start out their day, they're the cook, they're the worker, and then they're the dishwasher, they're the cleaner. And even if you have help, it's still a majority of it falls on. And then you look at the other things that you do, like when it comes around your children, specifically for their emotional, social well-being, and how much homework help do you give? And you said you homeschooled. And there's all of these different hats. It's about sitting down and looking at all the different things that you do, looking at what somebody else can do that you're willing to give away. And that's the trick, because sometimes as moms, we want to be perfectionists. We want to do it all. And it's understanding that, you can manage it all and do what you love.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you look at it that way. And there's no reason why younger children can't have a job.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you this funny story about my kids. So when my kids were young, my former husband traveled. So I would sit down and I would say, Mommy has these jobs to do and I need help with. And so I need everybody to take on 2 jobs. What do you want to do? And they all chose their job. And then I took on the stuff that they didn't want to do. But so I never had problems. And then we moved when they were teenagers, and the house was larger, and I didn't know what all the work was and what everything that would transpire. So I went about 6 months where I didn't ask them to do anything. And then it was a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have had it anyway because they were all becoming teenagers, or it may not have had it at all. I can't tell you. However, what I did do was I taught them all to do their own laundry.
Mm.
And that changed everything. So by teaching them to do all of them to do their own laundry, then that was a less burden for me. It was a great experience for them. And so that by the time they were off to school, they knew how to sort their clothes, how to fold them, how to do all the things that they needed to do so that they could be, independent and self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Yeah, I love that. Well, I think that we should really respect their humanness and that they need to get these life skills. And it's so easy to teach them or let them do chores when they're little and they want to. Please let them. I know some moms that are like, no, I'll do it because they don't do the dishes right and they'll just leave them dirty or whatever. That's okay. Like, let them practice. Like, allow them to take on those duties and those jobs. Like, you had given me great advice right at the beginning. Let your daughter learn how to do taking care of and do babysitting and yes, exactly. And then not only will she understand how much work that it is, but hopefully it will also provide a little bit of wanting her to live her life a little bit more before she starts her own family someday. So I think that that's a really wonderful idea. What about moms, like taking care of themselves, self-care? What do you advise moms to do? How do they kind of start that journey for themselves if they've never taken that time?
Okay. I would start the journey by taking 15 minutes for yourself. If you've never done it, especially if you feel guilty every time you take time for yourselves, and work it up. When I would have, particularly on a really busy day, I would sit down with a cup of tea and I would I like classical music, so I put some classical music on, and I would tell the kids that mommy needed a timeout, and that I needed them to go to their bedrooms and play, because they never used their bedrooms as a for a timeout, because mommy needed time, because I couldn't leave, right? I couldn't go to my room.
Yeah.
So I would just say, mommy needs a timeout and she needs 15 minutes to just calm down. I'd make myself a cup of tea, and I would think about, the music, and then when they got to be a little bit older and they could tell time, they would be at the top of the stairs, mommy, your 15 minutes is up. I'm going, oh, okay. That might be a good way to start. And another, if you're, particularly if you're a stay-at-home mom or you work from home, if you have a friend, you can always trade off. Yeah. You might still be working, but you're not trying to care for kids at the same time. So it gives you that break, and you can still take time off from work and take a break for yourself. And then gradually increase it so that you have some time every day for yourself. Might be before bed or might be in the morning, and do things like think about all the things you're grateful for. Mm. When you start thinking about what you're grateful for, it creates this sort of energy and happiness inside you. And particularly when your kids are young, and when they're teenagers, it's even more important to look at them, because teenagers are gifted. And one of the things they've learned over the years is exactly how to press your buttons. And so reminding yourself to be grateful for your kids, and to be grateful for, might be your hairbrush, whatever it is.
I love that. I've been doing this practice lately, and I had told you this before, that I sometimes come up with unique ways to better my own self and mental health and everything. So one of the things that sometimes I get caught up in is, having conversations in my head that aren't real, that are non-existent, with people or ideals that happen. And I know everyone does it. It's definitely like a human thing, but I don't like the way it makes me feel sometimes. And I don't want to stay in these strange conversations that may or may not ever happen. And so, I decided that every time I start, or whenever I catch myself doing this, I'm going to list the things off that I am grateful for. So I love that you brought that up, because I've also kind of integrated that into my own changing my mindset and not letting these fake weird and sometimes they're not even arguments or anything, but I just, it leaves me feeling unsatisfied because it's not a solution to anything. I'm not sure why our brains go there and do that. But anyways, if it's not making me feel good, I'm going to change to make myself feel better. So hopefully this is, I'm probably maybe 3 weeks to a month into it. And I feel, and I catch myself all the time, and it feels so much better to not kind of carry on with those ideas.
Well, it is better not to carry on with them. And our brain, everyone's brain does that. And it's part of it is our unconscious mind or subconscious mind's job is to protect you. And they protect you by finding all the negative things. And so these conversations that we all have are ones that, most of the time they're never going to happen. Most of the time they're not true. And most of the time, if you just say, stop and start and, say something, talk about what you're grateful for, and then go do something that makes you happy. Those conversations take away your feelings of worth.
Yeah.
And, that means that you're allowing yourself to take away your feelings of worth. When, if you asked anyone, they would tell you that you are so worthy and so valuable and so important to your family and your community and your work and the world. You're very important to all of those things, and remind yourself of those things. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that are if we allow our mind to create that conversation, we don't come out of it feeling good or on top. And we want,
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think another thing I often find myself doing, and I think that everybody is very different. My husband doesn't do this, so I know that it's not an everybody thing, is that I will often think about, well, what are other people perceiving? How is this person feeling? We call it windshielding. I'm looking through somebody else's windshield, wondering what's going on for them. And so that's, my husband's full of analogies. So that's his perfect way of telling me, stop looking into somebody else's windshield. The kittens don't need you to look in their windshield. They're feeling fine, or whatever it is, But I find another thing that I just find myself getting caught up in, and really have to back myself out of these ideas sometimes. But do you think that we as moms do that? Look at, well, how are these people perceiving, or, what's this, all these people behind me in line, and I'm searching for change and coupons, and oh my gosh, what are they thinking? And I really put a lot of pressure on myself about those things. So does every mom go through that?
I think nearly every woman goes through that, and probably every person on the planet.
Yeah.
And we all do that. And the person behind you, when you're trying to get change out of your purse, usually says, don't worry about it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know what? Because they've been there. They know what it's like.
True. Yeah.
And we all understanding that everyone has these feelings. It's how we deal with them that's important.
And how we teach our kids to deal with them, because like you said earlier, they're watching, they're seeing, we're being role models for people. And sometimes we don't know it, or we do know it, but we forget and aren't aware in the moment that there are ears listening and eyeballs watching, and sometimes recreating themselves to be that same, fitting that same image, if you will. Yeah.
This is something that I really believe is really important, is that we treat every person, and especially our children, with dignity and respect. Because dignity makes you feel worthy, and respect makes you feel like you can speak. If you feel you're respected, you feel you can speak your truth. And even if someone doesn't agree with it, it's going to be okay.
I love that.
So I think that thinking that, like, because sometimes we get angry, we get frustrated, we want to pull our hair out, and it's remembering, okay, still treat that child, even though they know you're angry, with dignity and respect. And then the next thing is, when you ask a question, zip it. Because they will tell you if they don't think that they're going to be punished for it, or if they don't think that if they think that you're going to hear the whole story. Because an example would be, say your child something's happened. They have behaved badly. They know it's coming home, or they feel so bad about it. And they start to tell you, if you get upset about it, they're not going to tell you. And maybe it's important, maybe it's not, children. However, if you be matter of fact and you let them finish, and you nod, do something, let them know you're listening, then you're going to get the whole story. And very often you're going to find it's not what you think. And then the next question might be something like, well, can you tell me why you thought of that? And you know what? Very often their reasoning was, in their mind, solid. And now you have an opportunity to teach.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. In fact, you made me think I have to just pull this up. There's this quote this morning that I saw. I'm sorry to do this, but it is just so perfect. Exactly. And I really just love the way that I think everybody should really understand. It says, people don't change their behavior when other people yell at them, shame them, or send them away to be alone. People change their behavior when they're feeling heard, understood, and loved. Growth and change require connection and compassion. And that is by Kate Turley, I think, or Kate Hurley she's a licensed social worker. I thought that was so worded so perfectly, because just like you're saying so many times, like, how did we feel when we were being yelled at and berated and grounded and sent to our room alone for 2 weeks to think about what we did? Guess what? I felt alone and alone and alone and a lot more alone. So I was an only child. So
you feel unloved.
Yes. And there was no changing whatever had gone wrong. It didn't teach me to change anything. You know what it taught me? That I had better make my own family someday so that I never felt that aloneness ever again. And luckily those dreams did come true and to fruition. And I don't feel alone. But and I also heard kind of another thing, that we don't feel alone when no one was with us. We feel alone when no one has us.
That's perfect.
Right? It gave me chills that time.
It's perfect. I have a friend that says, just because you're alone doesn't mean you have to be lonely. And it runs along the same, when that there's someone there, or someone is there to support you, when you know that even if these people don't live with you, you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Even though you're maybe physically alone, you're not emotionally alone. And that's where the hurt comes. Yeah. If you believe that you are alone in this world, and that you're not loved, and people, and you don't believe you're worthy. Other people always think you're worthy. It's just very often we don't. Then, and that needs to be addressed, because everyone deserves to feel that I can pick up the phone. I'm not really alone.
Yeah. That they belong, that they're accepted. And, it is so hard. And we have mentioned that, the maturation process and puberty and teenism, it's hard. It's tricky. They're developing, their minds are not fully developed. Their, excuse me, their brains, their minds are, I don't know if that's a separate thing, but, and the ideology that we as parents think that, saying something direct or strict or something that's going to like help them. We have to realize right now they're not even looking for help from us. They're looking for acceptance from their peers. So when they don't find that, we can't fill that gap.
No.
And I think that's a struggle with a lot. I mean, I'm struggling with that right now. And I want people to see, I think more than anything, that even though you have a platform, creating a reputation for yourself, have a name, a book, all of these things, you are real and you struggle and you don't have all the answers. And you put on 300 interviews and you still feel lost and confused in parenting. So it is so, I just want everyone to understand how relatable it is and how nobody is, we're all here like hoping that somebody else can help us through these tricky parts.
Well, the thing is, we're all human beings, and to understand that as human beings, we're not all perfect. We all have our ways of doing things. We all learn differently. When we change our perception, we can change our thoughts and we can change our actions. And it works whether you're 5 or 105. It's changing the perception. Then once you change the perception, your thoughts automatically start changing, and then your actions change. And with teenagers, teenagers need to be a coach in some ways more than a mom. I got into coaching a really funny way. I was taking a self-improvement course and I was helping the person beside me. And they said, "Oh, you're a coach." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not a coach." And the person running the program said, "Oh, you're a coach." And when they told me about what a coach was, I realized I'd been doing it all my life, and that parents are coaches. So all the kids that my kids' friends would come and talk to me about their problems. And the reason why they always came back was I had learned between all the parenting courses and experience that if you don't tell them what to do and you help them to come to the realization, they will take ownership of it, and the chances of it getting done will be greater. And if there's a problem, they'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And work it through. So parents that take on a role of coaching their kids so that they take ownership, the relationship between you is better, because it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be times when you say, "Hey, bud, my way or the highway." Like you might have to do that. I'm not saying there isn't those times. However, when you can sit down and help them, coach them to the answer and the solution, you're going to get the perception change, the thought change, and the action change. All of those things will change. Right?
And that's really when we're in those moments and we need that, sage advice of what do we do? That's great. A really great way to look at it, maybe, or to think of I get to do this instead of I have to do this, and kind of again to pull on those grateful strings to reconceptualize and get a different perception on what's going on. Well, let's talk about this beautiful book behind you, The Vital Link. Yes. Tell us a little bit about that and what that means for you and how that came about.
Okay. Well, I'd always wanted to be a writer, even when I was little. And then one of these, but I never did it because I just never felt, like I was worthy enough to write a book, or that I knew enough. so what happened was I had this friend contact me and said, hey, there's a boot camp about how to write a book. Do you want to go? And I thought, and at this point, I was separated. All my kids were either in university or on their own. And I said, yeah, sure, let's go. And then I got there and I realized, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then they asked me, what would you write a book about? And as you can tell, my whole life has always been about is helping people to grow. Helping people to feel better or to get better, helping people and so that's my mantra is like, if I'm not helping you, then I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. And so I started writing the book, and I had all of these blocks in the way. And then I started thinking about what I wanted, what I really wanted. And the book changed, actually. This is about the fourth title. Because I kept changing what I wanted. And finally, I realized that what I wanted to do was, I've been so fortunate in that I've been able to do so much learning, have so much amazing experience. So I took what I learned from nursing. I took what I learned from being a verbal communication master, from working in the community, from having children, from all the parenting courses. And also I became a holistic nutritionist when my kids were young because they were having problems eating. So I took all of these things and I wanted to make it relevant. So each chapter has information about it's called the 9 ways to have more health, wealth, and happiness. So there's 9 chapters, and each chapter includes activities and practice things so that you can learn the skills opposed to just reading about them. And I also wanted to write it so that you could pick up the book. If you want to learn more about happiness, you can go to that chapter. If you want to learn about mindset and belief, you can go to that chapter. And learn. You didn't have to read the entire book to get your one answer. So that's how I designed the book. And actually, it's it's my greatest pride.
Oh, I love that. I wrote some children's books a long time ago, and we published them, self-published them. There's 7 of them, all about special needs and things like that. They were written so long ago that I now would like to maybe rewrite some of them because I've learned so much more since then. And, but the same thing as you said, it's like, I'm so proud of that. And at one point, my daughter, who is a really incredible artist, we had talked about, I never got to tell you what her special gift was there. She's this amazing artist. I couldn't draw a straight line to save me, but she can, draw these amazing pictures. Sorry, my cat is stuck in my dress. Holy moly, baby. But she, when she was 8 and I was writing these books, she said, well, I would maybe like to do something. How could I be in this process? And I said, well, why don't we write a book and you illustrate the pictures? And so that's what we did. She illustrated her first book at 8 years old and we published it. Now, of course, in her teen, she's that's hidden way under the nobody ever see this kind of thing. But someday she'll be able to show her own kids and be proud of it and know that she did something big, even though she was little. And that, I think that sharing that experience with her was so special for me, to just feel like, oh my gosh, she looks up to me. She wants to do these things with me. So when they're that age and they're doing those things, revel in those moments, people.
Revel, because yes, when they get older, they want to, a lot of kids want to be like someone else. And it's teaching them when they're younger to be themselves. They don't have to follow.
That is so true.
Like everyone else.
I love that.
Your daughter, is she still like to draw and illustrate?
Yes.
So that might be something that if it's her love, it might be something that she wants to do in the future. Right?
I hope so. I think that art school would be in the future for us. That's
wonderful. And you can write another book and she can illustrate for you.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
'Cause
There's so many possibilities.
yeah, well, once you've written one book, you know that you know the process. You've gotten rid of all the blocks that were in the way that be preventing you from finishing the first book, and so the next ones come much quicker.
Yeah, we have 7, and there are probably 5 more that are unwritten. Excuse me, unpublished, but are written.
Mhm.
So someday,
Yeah.
someday we'll find all of the right, and like you said, it's someday it's just not the right timing, and the right
Mhm.
timing will come when, if and when it does, and if not, then maybe someday somebody will go through my stuff and say, "Oh my gosh, this is early SG Child's works." Right? Even if it's my great grandchildren, whatever. Too funny. We got to leave something.
I hope it comes out before then. It
I
sounds
no, it does. No, all the books are out. I have published all the books. Yeah, they're all self-published.
just
But yeah, all of the other ones I need to get out there.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
that's awesome. One of the things about writing books is you grow as a person with each one you write.
so true. So true.
And so, like I have said to people, that they said, well, I'd like to write a book, but I don't want to publish. I said, well, write the book, because writing the book itself creates so much personal growth
Mm.
that more than, all the courses that you're going to take in the next 5 years kind of thing, because
Yeah,
you work through so much.
isn't that the
Yeah.
truth? It's kind of like parenting, right? Trial and error.
That's true. One day somebody will write the manual.
Yeah, exactly.
But by the time it gets out, there'll be changes, because our kids change. I mean, how we were parented, how our parents were parented, and how we parent our children are very different. And even now, my children are grown. And the children coming up now, the way you parent your children, I'm sure there's differences compared to the way I did.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we didn't have all of the things. Like each generation has new things. And I think children are getting smarter.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Well,
Like,
I think the access to unlimited information has created evolution of faster processing in our brains. I think that that's just a natural thing that's happening. So I really do think that that is part of the process. And it's interesting because right now, today, if I were to look today and think, oh man, I wish we never introduced, electronics into our family, into our child's lives. But to be honest with you, I mean, my son was not speaking, and he could access information on this tiny little, computer that only had its own programming of spelling words and math facts and whatever geography things. If he had not had the access to that, I wouldn't understand that he was so intellectual and could understand all of those things.
mhm.
That gave him access to the world in a way that we couldn't as his parents. We couldn't through speaking to him. He needed that access. And now today I look at it because she's 2 years behind him. And so of course in the journey of it all, she's been wanting ever since she could to be like him, to be on, writing things down and reading things and on the computer and things. And of course, now she's, I would say, much more socially mature and understanding than he is because of their support differences. Which now makes it like, oh, I wish she'd never gotten into electronics. But like I said, it was like this access that he wouldn't have been able to be who he is today without that access. So what a tricky double-edged sword it is.
And just think about the support that parents can give one another.
Mm-hmm.
The way we can learn because we have electronics. It's like just an example, all right, is all the AI coming out. A lot of the parents are very a lot of people, period, are very worried about it. I went and I took a course to become an AI prompt coach, not because I want to work for corporate, for corporations. And it's because when I'm talking to mompreneurs and moms and 2 kids, that they learn not only how it works, how to turn it into their own voice. So whether it's not somebody else's voice, and where to go to test it to be sure that it is their own voice and not an AI voice. Because I just decided that those things are really important for parents to know. It's really important for everyone to know. And your children, I mean, think about, let's take a teenage boy. Well, because teenage boys sometimes will like to find a shortcut. So might be the first ones to decide that they're going to use it for an essay. And they go through all the same things. They're going to submit it to school, and it's going to come back with, this is AI or this is plagiarism. You fail. The ideas, they put all of the ideas, they did all the research to put the information in. Now it isn't, now their work is being negated.
Yeah.
And now if you take that work and put it on a site and it shows that it's human, it shows that it's AI, they can go back and look at it and go, okay, my voice isn't really in here. Where can I put my voice in here? How can I adjust this? So This is my work. And the AI just assisted with it.
Love that. Yeah.
And so that's why I took that, because, and that takes the fear away from parents as well. And it teaches the kids to fact check and to back check, to do all the things that they are going to be even more important for them moving forward than us.
Isn't that true? You're going to love our quote. A little bit of knowledge turns fear into understanding.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You just went and got that understanding. You got the knowledge. Now parents can fear a little bit less about what they don't know, because you just need to go out and learn a little.
Exactly. And then the parents are using it for themselves as well, because it's so, it's versatile, right?
Yeah.
That's, let's face it, fear, there's different acronyms for fear. My acronym for fear is feeling excited and relaxed.
Interesting.
Oh, no, yeah. And feeling excited and a lot. And no, hang on. It's, I'm sorry.
You're good.
Feeling excited and exhilarated. That's it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when you're excited, you have very similar physical feelings as when you have fear. Mm-hmm. So by looking at the fear and going, oh well, this is just excitement.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I'm exhilarated, and change it. So you're changing the dynamics. You're changing your mind. You're saying, okay, so fear just means that. And I learned that actually because I had brothers, honestly, because I had 4 brothers. And so, if admit you're afraid of something, they're going to drive you crazy about it. And so I learned very young that I would do it anyway. No matter what, I would do it anyway, because it was easier to do something I was afraid of than to face the consequences of my brothers knowing I was afraid of it. And I learned after a while that I learned 2 things. One thing was, it was the same feeling as when I was really excited about something. And also that the more I did it, the less I was afraid of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. I love that. Practice in anything you do it makes just a world of difference. That's for sure. And it's really easy to forget to practice and to be disciplined with yourself and those things. And, I think it's the word discipline is tricky, isn't it? Because we hear it. And at least for me, I mean, I was raised by an Air Force general, and as an only child. And discipline was like the major thing that was always happening. But I don't think that I use discipline in the same way anymore, or I don't view it the same. Like you said, the perceptions have changed. And now I see that I can use discipline for my own self-control. I don't use discipline for trying to control somebody else. That's not real or realistic. I feel like that's my opinion. But then somebody had said to me, well, and discipline comes from the word disciple, to teach, to be there for. Like, yes, I'm constantly doing that for my children. But I do it with love, dignity, and respect, as they are individual humans on completely different journeys of this life. And I think that not lumping them all into one category as my kids, or, you know, I'm the mom, so this is how everybody gets parented. I think it's made such a huge difference in the way that I can create the relationships necessary with the individuals, if you will, you know, rather than like as a whole.
Exactly. And it's about consequence. So they understand that if I do this and this is going to be what happens. And it's understanding consequence, I think, that helps you to become more disciplined.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been so wonderful to get to know you. This has just been a fantastic conversation, and thank you for your time. I know that we've probably gone past than what we had expected. But before we leave, where can everyone go to find your book, to find out more about your coaching, and support you on social media? Tell us all the good stuff.
Okay. So actually, I'd like to offer to your viewers, especially if you reach out to me, I will send you a downloadable copy of my book for free. And I believe you have my information there. Yeah. Do you have it all? Yeah. So if you reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to. And if you want to have a conversation and learn more, you can just ask me, and we can either have a conversation, or I can send you information on the programs that I have that help parents.
I love that. Thank you so, so much. Yes, I do have that. You sent me all of that amazing stuff all put together, and I am grateful for that. So I'll be attaching that to the show notes. So please go down and check those out and support Sharon on this journey. Always reach out to me. And if you have any questions for me or my guest, you're always welcome to please share them, and I'll pass them along, and we'll be able to get you the support you need. Thank you again so much for being here today, Sharon.
Oh, thank you. I was honored, and this has been wonderful.
Wonderful conversation. Yeah. I look forward to staying in touch for sure.
Oh, me too. Me too. Okay.